right, we got another subscriber request here for the T22 medium, a tank that some have, not a lot. It's been in crates really. If you're struggling with a tank or an aspect of the game, I do have a tips and tricks playlist. Shoot over there. Hopefully there's something that can help you out. But diving right into the T22 medium. So if you're struggling with this tank, the things that you have to understand is this is a medium tank that doesn't have a lot of gun depression, and when you look at the characteristics of a tank, that'll help you understand how to play the tank and how to position it on the maps or the landscape that you're playing on. So when looking at the T22 medium strengths and weaknesses, what we want to do is we want to be able to position it in a way that we can maximize its strengths and protect its weaknesses. So as a medium tank, it's still effective for you to be able to get in those positions quickly to spot right at the beginning of the map. Second of all, it has some gun depression, but honestly, it doesn't really have a lot. And by putting yourself in a position against tanks that have really good gun depression in very hilly areas, you do have to be careful of that. However, you'll notice in these two replays, this is much more so a flat ground medium tank. This thing does better on ground that's just maybe a little bit more sloped, and also just a little bit more flat. When you're coming in at enemies, it's good to come in at angle. You do have a little bit of a weak spot also in the front with that pike nose. If you angle to one side, you're weak on the other, if that makes any sense. And if you're looking directly at them, most of the time I haven't had it bounce or be too successful in bouncing those rounds, but all in all, basically what I'm trying to say is it's a flat ground medium. So this tank does really good on ground that's a little bit more flatter, maybe a little bit more sloped, trying to look for those advantageous positions that you can really utilize the strength of your turret, because the turret of the T22 medium, another strength it has is this thing has an excellent turret. So if you can put it in a position to just peek your turret up and over, protect your hull, and then get those shots off, it's excellent. Now, the other thing is this thing does also have an amazing ability to side scrape or reverse side scrape, meaning when you side scrape and somebody hits your side, you'll see that even there's an E100 that takes a shot at me and it bounces. The angling of this armor is so good that if hit right, it just causes an auto ricochet or a bounce off the armor. Now with the pike nose, it's very wide in the front, so trying to side scrape from the front is a little harder to do, and much more better if enemies aren't focusing on you. You're not the main center of attention. But you can also reverse side scrape, meaning you have your rear pointed in the direction of where you're wanting to fire, and then having that kind of lined up with the building. And then that way, if you have your entire rear protected and your side, and then your turret kind of pointing out, looking kind of backwards, while your rear is behind the object or the building, the reverse side scraping is incredible with this thing. So the other thing with being a medium tank is you can't tunnel vision. A lot of the time when you get to a position to spot, you have to use what you're spotting or the enemies that you're detecting as an understanding of helping you know how to navigate from one point to the next in your attacks against them on the map. And then it also helps your team. When you end up putting yourself in a position to spot, it also helps your team know how to position themselves. So anyway, kind of going back to the strengths and weaknesses of the T22, it's got excellent turret, it's got good maneuverability, it's got a good cannon, it is fairly accurate. Like I said, great turret, but some of its weaknesses is it doesn't have a lot of gun depression. So like I said, you'll notice in these two replays, I'm trying to keep the tank more so on flatter ground. I'm staying around in the low points of the valley. I'm coming around just the hills, just enough to protect my hull, but just enough to expose my turret. And then looking for ways that I can also support my team So making sure I'm within view range of my team so they could support me, and vice versa. And so just barely cresting over these little points, using the little bit of gun depression I have, really helps out quite a bit. And if you can just get it to the point where you're only exposing your turret, enemies don't really have a shot. So it can be honestly just excellent. But the thing you have to be careful of is when you're putting yourself in a position where this thing's much more of a flat ground medium and you're coming across other mediums that have excellent gun depression and good turret armor, like the Japanese medium tier 10, you can really kind of get yourself in a rough position because you don't really quite have the penetration necessarily to get through what you need. And with their gun depression, they can put you in a bad spot. So looking at the enemy lineup, I mean, keeping this thing much more on flatter ground. You can side scrape. Reverse side scraping is incredible with this thing. It's probably one of the best well-armored tier 10 mediums in the game. But looking for, once again, like those targets, I'm trying to safely make my way through, making the advancements up and up by trying to protect my hull. And even when I'm coming up against enemies, I'm trying to wiggle quite a bit because that wiggling of the armor changes the interface of it quite a bit and can help cause ricochets, different parts to become more sloped than others, and so forth. So those were just, I mean, honestly, just a couple pointers I had for the T22 medium is, number one, it's more of a flat ground medium. You want to use low points, flatter ground, hills that aren't very steep, that require you to use a lot of gun depression, and then getting yourselves in areas where you can just peek your turret out but protect a lot of your hull. And then if you're in more of a setting, like if you're coming at enemies or you're the center of attention, to wiggle your tank, try to come at them at an angle, also really helps with those bounces. So hopefully this helps. This is the Muffin here. You guys stay cool and keep tanking.